I'm Dr. Mel, and welcome to another episode of Dr. Mel's Message. I have an exciting author for you today, and his book is called America, the Judgment of the Republic for Which It Stands. Now, the book itself is quite prolific, but not as much as I'd say is the author. His name is Steven Riddley, and I can't wait to introduce you to him. Welcome to Dr. Mel's Message, Steven. How are you?
Oh, just fine, just fine. How are you today?
I am doing great. I'm glad we had some hiccups on the upstart of this, but I'm glad we got that all worked out. And I am ready to hear about your fabulous book. So first, tell me a little bit about what is America, the Judgment of the Republic for Which It Stands.
Well, over the years, ever since of 2011, I had a divine encounter which brought me into what we call the prophetic line of revelations of things of which occurring in the world for which a lot of times we take for granted. And from a biblical perspective and spiritual side of our experience, God raised up messengers, as all I can say. He raised up messengers. He gives them this information to tell the people what to get ready for. That's going to be something that is going to be quite different than our normal life. In a matter of fact, it's going to affect all of us in terms of its impact, not only on the world, but on this nation also.
All right.
And those are the things that I write about.
All right, now let me ask you this. Is this book more political or more religious, or a combination of both?
Combination of, well, what it is, it's religious, it's the biblical, historical aspects of what's happening politically. Behind the scenes information of what the public fails to see or don't know. It's like if you're in delusion, you don't know it until actually you are brought into the light of what it is that you didn't know. This is what it's all about.
Yeah, see, that is a fair statement. Now, in the book, you're saying that it chronicles the biblical prophetic chronicles of the last generation. So when you're saying the last generation, who exactly are you referring to?
Well, from a biblical standpoint, we always look at things from Israel and the Gentiles. We are the Gentiles that received the blessing that the Jews rejected when they rejected the Messiah. And how do we relate this to the last generation is this. We were raised up as a nation to be the protector of Israel, to be responsible for their restoration as a nation, which occurred in 1948, and the process of this time frame of their tyranny, or the encounters they had in the Middle East and Israel region there in the Gaza. In 1967, there was a war that the Arabs attempted to take the land back that was the Abraham land grant. And here again, we see divine intervention, wherein in 6 days, God delivered them and gave them back not only the victory, but gave them the land grant that was originally given to them by Abraham, which included the capital city of Jerusalem, because they were a state up to that time. Now that they have the capital, biblically speaking, historically speaking, they are now restored as a nation, because from the biblical link, the return of their Messiah must come back to the city of David, and that's Jerusalem. So they have Jerusalem back now. Now, the people who were responsible for that is a Gentile nation who were assigned to be not only their protectors, as we saw in the United Nations when we voted for them to become a state, and then protected them while they were subjected to the tyranny. And what we have now is from 1967, this is how you count the time of the last generation. This is a fulfillment of a Bible prophecy, when what we call Zion travailed for the second time in 1967. And they got the capital city. Now they are known as the state of Israel because they have the capital city. Now, generation in Jewish terms or in the biblical terms is 40 years. Our time as a Gentile have served their purpose to restore them as a nation. Now, a generation is 40 years. Now, from 1967 to 2008, the warning sign will be the same sign that will come in Noah's day. Noah preached until he closed the door. 7 days after that door was closed, it started to rain. 911 is a worldwide wake-up number. Everybody know it as a warning. That was our warning because it happened on our soil, because we were the Gentile nations now being judged. And we are the head, as the head, I always call it as the head domino, because all the nations of the world's economy is dependent upon the stability of the United States economy, because all feed off us. Now, the beginning of that particular downfall will start with the warning of 911. And 7 years after that would be the same date on September of 2008, would end 40 years as of 1967. That's biblically speaking from the numbers
All right.
of a 40-year span.
I've never
Now,
looked.
after that,
This is fascinating.
well, after that, now these are, I speak from a biblical standpoint. I don't deal in presumption or imagination or fiction. This is all, like I said, I was divinely called and set apart, and these things were revealed. I didn't have dreams or visions like most people who call they're prophetic. Yeah, I'm born again Christian, and in my prayer time, when he began to set me aside and said, in Jeremiah 33:3 said, now call to me, I'm gonna tell you some things that you don't know that have been held to be revealed to this time of the generation. And I was taken back with that, and my life changed as a result of that. I have not been the same since, because the things that have been revealed to me
And
were not only shocking.
What year was this all revealed to you?
Started in 2004.
Okay.
2004, after the 911 incident, is when I began to get these premonitions about things of which going to happen subsequently. But he began the conversation with me in January of 2005 is when I started having the conversations with what we know in Christianity as the Holy Spirit. Now, what he began to tell me at that time is that this is the end of the Gentile age. What you will see after the 7-year grace period of 911, which is a worldwide call involving all the nations of the world. And after that, a period of time for the people to reckon, as they say, he's judging a nation. So if that nation, when they see that happen on their soil to that degree, involving that much carnage and destruction, it's a time to get your attention. And what happened, he gave them 7 years to actually reckon to see that this is not ordinary, this is God. Well, what happened when I wrote the book, What the Church Failed to See, is that they didn't see this revelation of the end of the 40 years of the Matthew 24, when it said, that generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. After September of 9/11, then the beginning of what we call the sorrows will begin to take place. That is the beginning of incidents, natural disasters, occurrences of things of which would catch it, not only the attention of the people in this nation, but they will begin to happen all over the world. And they will start having exponentially or increase with their intensity. That's where we are now. These are the details. My particular calling are to give the people the details of what they're about to face that will not be changed. Although they're in a state of mind wherein they're not going to believe it, they didn't believe Noah. Noah was, if you want to look at a conspiracy theorist, Noah preached for 120 years when it never had rained, and they made mockery on it. Or imagine this having to tell the people something that they don't have never been told, never seen, never happened before. You're getting a repeat in the circumstances wherein you're not only going to be marked, but in the time when this come to pass, people we call once again as it did in the days of Noah. That's what we are looking at now. All these incidents, disasters, and things that are happening all over the world, it's all in it's all written in the scriptures in a form of a mystery. That mystery was held to be revealed at an appropriate time when the people needed to know it. And because of the state of the church or Christianity, which is the doctrine of Jesus Christ, for which we all complain to be of, this revelation will come through his doctrine. And if we are not in that doctrine, we will miss the revelation. Missing that revelation is like missing the vision. Without the vision, the people will be caught in a situation where they'll perish, not knowing why it happened to them. When God raised up messengers and prophets, their place is to inform the people of what's happening, and it becomes a judgment because you're making the decision whether you're going to believe it or not, just as in the days of Noah. They didn't believe it's going to rain. It had never rained before. We in America have never experienced any carnage on our soil as far as an invading army coming to take us over. We have never experienced that. We have a state of mind. We are too strong. We're too powerful. We're a nation that, cannot be conquered. Well, that's the same mentality that the people had in the days of Noah. Well, when that happens, it will catch you off guard. That's my message.
Wow.
Is to inform the people of this that you're seeing, which newsworthy every day, increasing the activity of evils of men. Things are happening that never happened before. The way has never happened before. Even the weather become unpredictable. These are the natural disasters that are unpredictable. And the signs that are also so apparent that you have to be a fool and wayfaring man not to ignore that, say something must be wrong because this has never happened before. These are the things that think, well, actually now I'm beginning to people have been asked, well, something must be wrong because these have never happened before. That is the information I have been given to write about and disclose to a generation of people who are being caught in a particular condition or circumstances that they have no idea of what they're facing.
Oh, and let me ask you this. If the 40-year concept that you provided for us, the 40 years with Noah, let's say, and now the 40 years that ended in 2008, are we in another 40 years or is that going to come later?
No, you're looking at, now you're in a time cycle. This, like I said, you have to read these books because I can't tell you all, it would take too much time, but I can give you snippets.
Okay.
When Adam sinned, the 3 6s represent the natural order. 6 days, the earth was created. 6th day, the man was created. He was given 6,000 years to take it back when he was fall. That's the 3 6s. That's the natural order. Well, 6,000 years in a 7,000-year reign of the natural order. We're at the end of the 6,000th year. Historically, everybody will tell you that. They know that. From a biblical standpoint, yeah, we're in the 6,000th year. Now, what we refuse to believe and the delusional aspects of this, as it was in the days of Noah, is that this can't be the end. I mean, with all the knowledge we have, we just refuse to believe that. Well, that's what they did in Noah's day. They refused to believe it's going to be a flood. Well, here we are today. They give you a cycle. He gives you a number, 40 years of the generation. The last generation, Matthew 24 says, to not pass to these things be fulfilled. Well, we're in the last generation. What it does, it ends at the end of the 6,000 year man was given to rule or to take back his position as a new Adam, according to Christianity, the way the Bible teaches us. Now, if he hasn't done that, it's crossover in the last millennium, which brings back Jesus Christ himself as from a Christian perspective. He has to come back and rule because the Jews failed to keep the Sabbath and the Gentiles failed to keep his word. So he has to come back, put the devil down in the place of which he has been chained, where no evil be, because the two of them cannot rule in the same place. That's why you must have the millennium. He will rule there. But the crossover period is 7 years And we know that now as a tribulation period. It's divided into two parts. The first part would be with the Gentiles. The second part would be with the Jews. However, it will be cut short because the calamities that will be happening in the second part will be of such that no flesh will be safe if God didn't take us out of here ahead of time. All that is explained in the details of the scriptural revelation of the mysteries, which I have been writing about all these years.
Now, some people say that in a way this book is very controversial. Why?
The controversial aspect is the information that the manner in which the information is relayed is of such that is not taught in the church, but it came from the Bible.
That makes
And because theologians have gone to seminaries and learned knowledge, what they failed to see that Daniel prophesied, which is a prophet of old, prophesied that they would increase in knowledge, but they would be, in the end, they would be showing signs of ever learning and never coming to the knowledge of the truth. Otherwise, they would become speakers and not deliverers.
and that's a huge difference, being a speaker and being a deliverer. Will you expand on that for a minute for us?
Well, a speaker is see, there's two, you're dealing with two types of seducing here. There's two spirits. There's parallel in the spirit world is you have the right and the wrong as a result of Adam and Eve's sin. Now, we're born in sin, shaped in iniquity. Therefore, all of our thoughts, no matter what good we do, until we repent and come back to Jesus, and we can do up to 99% of good, but not know who our Father is. That's deception. That's what it is to be deceived, not knowing who your Father is. When the Jews rejected their Messiah, he told them how he would come. He would come, not be no significant person. He wouldn't become riding on a kingly fashion. He wouldn't be something pretty to look at. But he told them he would do these type of works in Isaiah 61. He would heal the sick, raise the dead, do all these great miracles before he got to Jerusalem to go before his people to present himself as the Messiah. Now, they were in a state to wherein they had forgotten all about him as the Messiah. Otherwise, they studied the scripture, but they changed it because over time they forgot who they were serving. And that's the point of deception. So when he did appear before them, they didn't know who he was and killed him in the name of God. Here we are, the Gentiles worship him in spirit and in truth, which is by faith, knowing his voice. Now we are at a point to wherein we repeat history. We don't know his voice when he speaks, and we're supposed to be born of him. That's the difference between the two characters you're dealing with. One that knows who they are and the one who doesn't. And there's a difference in our characteristic. I characterized this when I came to this revelation and had a conversation with the great I am. I want to notice there are those born from below and those born from above. Now that was to me a very controversial thing to put out before the people. Now, when he explained to me, this is how he put it. Those born from below are seduced into the seminary system of teaching.
Okay.
And that is the enemy's form of telling you when Jesus was in the wilderness in Matthew chapter 4, he told him, he said, the enemy told him, everything you want, I will give you if you fall down and worship me. Well, he was talking to the one that created him, the second Adam. Therefore, if he created him, he knew who he was talking to. That's why he didn't change any words when he said, get behind me, be gone. Why? I created you. You don't have no problem. You caused the downfall of the first one, but you're looking at the one who created you. Now, where we are today, we don't see the two parallels because he's able to duplicate everything God does. And we're just human beings here, born in sin, shaped in iniquity. We don't know nothing. We think we do. If all of our knowledge have brought us to this place to where we are in this predicament in the world, what has it profited us? If we can annihilate ourselves with one push of a button, and what have your knowledge profited you? That's the evil nature of man, taking what God meant for good and using it for evil.
For evil, yeah.
That's why they don't. The enemy of your soul is this. He's here to kill, steal, and destroy you. And he doesn't never want you to know who you are because he's using you to do it.
And you're not even,
Those are
maybe not even aware that you're actually being used in that capacity.
You will never be used until God open your eyes. That's why he says in the book of Revelation, when you begin to read it, he said, he that had an ear, let him hear it. He says, I have to give you ears to hear me because you don't, it's not in your power to do that because the one that you're under power of won't let you hear that. I have to override his power over you, open your mind to hear me. No one can come except I draw him. That's him.
I can't wait to get a hold of this book. And you have definitely piqued my interest. And I hope it's piqued the interest of all my viewership as well. If you're just now joining us, or, you know, I have been speaking for the last 30 minutes with an incredible author. His name is Steven Riddley, and he has written the book, America, the Judgment of the Republic for which it stands. Now, I highly recommend y'all getting a hold of this for your own self-knowledge. And you don't have to agree with what he says, but it's good to be armed with some knowledge and different viewpoints with that. Now, with that said, Steven, what's next for you?
Well, I'm in a wilderness right now, just like Noah was. My ministry has been put on hold for the past 32 years. I started out as a minister in 1977. When God started talking these two, I have been put out of, I was banished from what you call the church assembly environment. By reason of this, the doctrine had been changed. It's the doctrine of the Laodicean church, wherein Revelations 2 tells you it's the last spirit that would represent the state of the church. And that is, the doctrine will be of rapture and prosperity, thinking that to live godly is to gain. It will have no substance to holiness or the truth. It would be based in knowledge. It would be based in the accolades of man, because simply the seminary system would have given man the ability now to become renowned in the people of God, and we become authorities in this and that. And because the technology advances would cause our attention span to reduce to the point to where in these little things we have in our fingers here is the only time we have to spend in attention. And our minds will be taken from one thing to another because they will take us over. In that aspect of technology, all of these spiritual things are occurring because they're being used to actually keep us blinded to the point to wherein we wake up one day marked and don't know when it happened. That's technology's point of view. All this is in the book. I can't explain. This is I've written 5 books.
Right.
In layers. They are in layers, self-published, because the master work is 95 chronicles over a 70-year period from Genesis to Revelation. It's called Dispensational Christianity, from sin to salvation and translation. Everything that a person needs to know about who it is they're supposed to believe in, what they are supposed to be conforming to. What is it they're going to make you different? They're going to give you the ability and power to do things that no one else could do, or overcome things that you can't seem to overcome in the world. We're in the world, but we have to be given the ability not to be overcome by it. Who it is that give you that ability, and what kind of power is we have been given as confessing Christian that will keep us in a place to wherein we can be the light to the world, to show them in the midst of the problems they're going to face, which they cannot overcome except they know God. We're supposed to be in a place and know God to that degree and let him operate in us to that degree that they can see the hope in us by our stability. This is a point of stability, not instability, because if it was the case, then we wouldn't need it. It has to be a difference in one believes, and that's few and far between. It takes a great deal of convictions and love beyond that which we are born with, that comes only from God, that gives you the ability to be able to face all these circumstances in the world and wind up being the master of the circumstances and not the victim of it.
And
That's because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world.
now, let me ask you this question. If you could only state one reason why someone should pick up this book and read it, what would it be?
To find out if you are a confessing Christian. Now, there are two areas.
Okay.
If you are a confessing Christian, you need to know what it is you should have been taught by claiming to be that, for one thing, and what's expected of you in the one that's going to judge you in the end. It shows you what you are supposed to be believing, what you're supposed to be walking in, and you can judge yourself out of the volumes of the book, not an opinion of a man. Because if you're judged at all, it is you're judged out of the volumes of the book. God, that's why he says, you don't need to judge anybody. Everybody looks in this book is judged already, because that's what it's telling you what he accepts.
Not judged by man.
No,
Judged by
man,
the Almighty.
the Almighty has already judged everything. That's why we say you can't judge anybody, because you're already condemned when we were born.
Wow.
So now, in order to get in a position to not be condemned, you must let him take over your vessel. That's why he said, present your body as a living sacrifice. You now become the temple under the New Testament. It's not in the bricks, mortar, and sand anymore. It's in you. No, you're not. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Now, God, according to John, teaches us this. Now we are the sons of God. It does not yet appear what we should be. We are work in progress, but we are not ever learning not to come to the knowledge of the truth. We are learning to be able to demonstrate what is truth.
Wow. First, I want to thank you for coming on Dr. Mel's message. You have opened my eyes to something that I never even really considered, and taught me something throughout this. And I want to also thank Strat Advertising for bringing you to Dr. Mel's message, because I really think my viewership is going to love hearing about not only you, but hearing about your book and your other books that you've created. So thank you for that. And again, I have been talking with Steven Riddley, and he is the author of America, the Judgment of the Republic for which it stands. And I challenge each one of you to get a copy of this book. It is available as a paperback and an ebook. The Kindle is $2.99, and the paperback is $6.49. So it's definitely, affordable. You're talking about cheaper than a fast meal that you can pick up through a drive-through window that will feed your soul. And so I, again, want to thank you for coming aboard, and I wish you so much success with not only this book, but all of your books. And I am truly honored to have listened to you and your journey. So thank you, Steven, for that.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to have this platform and forum, hoping that someone may be blessed accordingly.
Exactly. And if we only reach one person and we make a difference for him, we've done a good job.
Can't put a price on souls.
That's exactly right. So again, thank you so much. I am Dr. Mel, and stay tuned because we have more episodes coming up.